Well, good morning, everybody. Today in our forecast video, I want to start off with a radar animation over the last 12 hours or so. Last night I got to drive through parts of Iowa and then come through Kansas City, and it was very clear in through this area. I got to actually see kind of how Jupiter and Venus are lining up now. But to the south of that, there was this region that stretched from Texas all the way into the Tennessee and Ohio Valley here, where we saw numerous storms that produced quite a bit of severe weather, including many that produced some large hail. If you get a chance to read today's report, I kind of featured the big storm that went through southern Texas right down, you'll see here in a second, this one right here, big hailer, 4-inch hailstones out of it. What was interesting about it was that the radar, the mosaic radar, did show actually multiple hail spikes coming out of that, so just kind of an interesting perspective. But the next system we're going to keep an eye on, which is going to increase the severe weather threat again right into this area tonight and then tomorrow over the southeast, just swept through California, and it's this system right here. Now, if we look at the all hazards weather map, behind that system, very cold air is coming into California. So we have freeze warnings that are out for most of the Central Valley of California and also down here into parts of Southern California. Winter storm warnings are out around that circulation this morning. We had red flag warnings for parts of Texas. This entire region in through here, though, right now has a mix between high wind advisories and a flood watch. And probably the most maddening part of the storm system for a lot of us forecasting in the Midwest is where the snow is going to be. The National Weather Service did put out a winter storm watch that stretches from parts of Illinois to Michigan, and this is going to extend into parts of New England. Before I get away from this map, I would like to point out that we're going to continue to see systems coming into the west, and you do notice that right now in the Cascades we have a winter storm warning here as well. But back to the severe weather side of this is the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center, so we now include parts of eastern Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana into the moderate risk again. So just for reference, this is the same level of risk we had on Sunday for the severe storms that were in parts of Oklahoma. Tomorrow, as we get into Friday, that pushes east. Storm Prediction Centers open up a large area over parts of the southeast, the Appalachian Mountains, getting into Tennessee and Kentucky for severe weather. And let's go take a look at this right now in terms of wind speed as well, because in addition to thunderstorm winds, we are expecting the synoptic scale winds around the system to be very, very strong. So what we're going to do is play through this early weekend. I'll just pause it out here, Saturday morning. And you can see that as that low races out of Texas toward the eastern Great Lakes, we will have very strong winds accompanying this system. Some places easily gusting in that 40 to 50 plus mile an hour range, and probably locally higher wind amounts in parts of Tennessee and Kentucky out of this. The storm system on the high-res NAM, and this is just one solution of this, is going to look something like this. So this is this morning, about 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time in the forecast, and this low emerges. You see the complex of storms tonight that's out here ahead of it. A highly sheared environment, plenty of deep moisture to use is going to produce a significant and large outbreak of strong to severe storms. Now, as it continues to pull through, we've watched the evolution of this low and where this heavy snow is set to be. Now, again, this is just one model simulation showing where it could be by tomorrow morning. Notice it's from parts of Missouri into southeastern Iowa, northern Illinois, and then spreading that snow into Michigan. Now, just take note, out ahead of it, on the main upper level front here, we do expect to see the risk of those stronger storms going through in the day on Friday, stretching down to the southeast. The low then pushes into New England, and this has been a very challenging forecast to figure out where the snow is going to be from this as well. Now, that's just one of the systems we're watching. If we go back, you notice there is a shortwave that's moving into Idaho as we get into tonight and tomorrow that moves into Wyoming, producing some snow. Also some snow coming into Colorado out of this one. And you see that behind it there is another coastal low that's pushing into the west. And this will be by Saturday, and this is going to continue to be an issue for the western United States pressing forward, and we're going to look at that with the longer range models in just a few moments. Now, thinking about the snow side of this, because we do see the storms and the heavy rain in through this area, potentially very heavy rain where we have that flood watch. We look right now and see that this is the probability of getting 2 inches of snow out of this system. Now, we're not looking at this for the west. These snowfall amounts here will be much, much, much higher. We're keeping an eye on this particular area right in through here. And as we look at the different models on this, I'm just going to show you what we're up against here. This was this morning's 6Z European model run on total snow. Now, if you're in this region, just take a look. If I even go back one model run to the 0Z, that's where it had the snow. Did you see the shift there from the 6Z to the 0Z? What if we even flip over to another model? This is the GFS forecast for snow. That's the 6Z versus the 0Z. A lot of movement in the models on where the heavy snow is going to be. And earlier this week, all of this heavier snow is back farther to the west, which is right now where the high-res NAM is putting it. So the 6C high-res NAM, notice where it's got the heavier snow back farther to the west here in parts of Missouri, Illinois, and maybe even parts of southeastern Iowa. But the 0Z run had even more in this area. So this is going to be a very challenging forecast. If you've found it frustrating for us to pin down snowfall amounts, this is the reason why. And I can keep going through all the different models, but the point is to say that we're going to have to watch this one and now cast our way through it to figure out where not only the heavy rains and the severe storms are going to be, but what to expect in terms of where this snowfall is going to land. All right, so very, very challenging forecast as we go forward. All right, let's get back to the multi-model analysis, and we're going to pick this up noon on Friday between the GFS and the European model. So the low continues to pull into New England, potentially very heavy rain coming in parts of like Pennsylvania over toward New York, New Jersey. This will get up into parts of the mid-Atlantic, but the front does break up as it goes through the Carolinas, and that's not going to deliver much precipitation there. Now, how that snow transitions on the backside, see how more aggressive the GFS is farther to the south than the European model in New England, that's going to be a challenge. We then see behind it the next low coming into the west. It will have a system that comes out ahead of it right here on Sunday that could produce more snow across the upper Midwest and northern plains. See the current position of the models here on Sunday evening. But this next low slides down into the western United States, and it produces more snow in the Central Valley, in the Sierra Nevada, and rains in the Central Valley of California. Now, about a week from now, next Wednesday, Thursday, the models are toying with this idea of seeing another low develop somewhere in the midsection of the country. You can see it's showing up in both, and there is some ensemble support for this. And that low could just take off right there, spreading more snow over places that have had an abundant amount of snow this winter, and also bring more rain over some of the regions that we're talking about having those flooding rains in the near term. Again, this is late next week when this system possibly emerges, but you do see how it's got multi-model support here overall. Now, what's important to watch with this pattern is how the upper level winds are going to be changing, because once we get out there past the 8th, 9th, 10th, we're going to start to see the atmosphere dip the jet stream farther to the south. It's going to dive across the country following some sort of trajectory like this, with some high latitude blocking going on here over the Canadian archipelago. The big idea is that's going to push the jet stream farther to the south and introduce some colder air. And what it typically does in this case is set up from California through the Central Plains and the Southeast a wetter pattern for week 2. Now, there's some benefit to this. Remember, a few weeks ago we talked about what it would take to return moisture this spring into the southern plains, and it takes a much farther trajectory to the south of the jet stream coming through California, the Baja, coming into Mexico and ejecting. And the models right now are getting a bit more aggressive with that. Now, we need to watch this carefully. It's not set in stone, but this is the GFS forecast for week 2. So it's a continued potential flooding issue for California. We've been looking so closely at the snowfall amounts in California, and some places are well double what is normal right now. And you've probably seen some of the videos like around Tahoe and places of just incredible amounts of snow. But this new pattern we're sliding into here, which is displacing the big subtropical ridge that had been over the southeast, could possibly return much needed moisture to the central and southern plains. I mean, this is mission critical here at this point in March, April, and May to see this. Could it be severe weather? Yes. Could it even be cold enough for some snow in this area? It could certainly be that way. But we're waiting today. Let's see if we got the update. I'm still waiting on the update for the newest drought monitor. It should come out maybe in the next 45 minutes or so. But this is the reason why we're watching this. Okay. From here, let's talk about the temperatures. Here's today's high temperatures compared to normal. As we go into Thursday and Friday, remember that's when the system's coming out, so there's the potential for snow here. You now see the challenges we're having with forecasting that snow. It's going to be a temperature issue, and trying to figure out how deep the snow gets all depends on the surface temperature and what the lower atmospheric profile looks like, and that's going to be the hardest part about forecasting this. Going from Friday into Saturday, and then into Sunday, we open up another large warm sector here. We go into Monday. This is out ahead of that system midweek next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. But after the 8th, this colder air begins to advance farther to the east. And we've now watched this for I don't know, maybe a week and a half, but this is now really coming in to fruition that once we get out there past the 8th, we're going to watch that colder air migrate into the central United States and press east. And it looks as though most of the week 2 forecast is colder than average for the majority of the United States and Canadian prairie. Now we have questions as to how long this colder air is going to hang on into the central part of the United States. And there's some models that suggest it could be there all the way to the 3rd week of March. But will there be something to displace this? That's going to be one of the things we'll address in tonight's long-range video and then again early next week. Right now, though, the newest data from the Climate Prediction Center, they released this on February 28th, shows their outlook for the month of March. And again, they possibly see the rebuilding of a subtropical ridge late in the month, but colder across the northern tier of the U.S. But they do have, just as we showed, above normal precip coming into California here. Equal chances now, no longer a dry signal for Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado, and Kansas. But they keep this region very wet going into spring, which is going to really tighten up early spring field work and planting windows in this section of the country. Okay, last couple of things here. I do want to show you the latest update for South America. Over the next 10 days, the models continue to flood, cause flooding problems in central Brazil. More rains are coming down to Rio Grande do Sul. That had been in an area that was in drought. We do see the models improving the rains on the safrinha crop in Mato Grosso, but drier conditions prevail across much of Argentina, and that is also where we're expecting the hottest temperatures over the next 10 days. Getting out there day 10 through 15, models are attempting to improve some of the rain in Argentina, but this is a lot of mid to late season potential damage here from a resurgence of this drought. All right. Lastly, we've been discussing how La Nina has completely kind of lost its grip. In the latest update that came from the Bureau of Meteorology out of Australia, they're the most aggressive on showing the ocean temperatures in the central equatorial Pacific moving very aggressively into El Nino territory, maybe a degree to a degree and a half C above normal by the time we get into summer. And we always pay attention to the Australians because they are always on the receiving end of an El Nino or La Nina. So to see their forecast so aggressive is something we need to continue to consider. So we'll leave it there. I hope you all have a good rest of your week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.